Well, yeah, you know what? I said I wasn't gonna put my hat in the ring for fixed TF2, but gonna put my hat in the ring now because my god, what a wild ride the month of June has been. Anyone watching this is more than likely familiar with what's been happening with Team Fortress 2, but just in case you're not, quick recap, TF2 has been plagued by cheating bots for over 5 years, rendering the game unplayable more often than not. Valve did nothing about these bots, despite the game being offered as playable, and earning them millions off of in-game microtransactions. Once again, everyone started doing as they should, and rightfully held Valve responsible. A bunch of YouTubers banded together and called for everyone to partake in a brand new Twitter hashtag of FixTF2. Except this time around, unlike with Save TF2 a couple years ago, it's, I wouldn't say effective, but certainly much more meaningful, because unlike 2 years ago with Save TF2, the problems that are, the bots and Valve's neglect are being put at the forefront of the discourse. Everyone is berating Valve over their negligence, rather than any form of rightfully deserved negativity and protest being co-opted by that toxic positivity nonsense. As this fired up, and as this went on through the entire month of June, it seemed like Valve was simply gonna ignore this, keep their heads down, and weather the storm, waiting for things to blow over and carry on with business as usual. But much to my fucking shock, Valve did something. They did something that resembles work, God forbid, work on Team Fortress 2. And here's what we know now. Some of this may come off as incredibly obvious, but it's all worth saying because few people are putting all of this into perspective. All we know is that for the first time in years, Valve is actually performing something that looks like the bare minimum level of maintenance to keep TF2 playable. Starting around June 27th, they implemented some kind of system that is banning bot, cheater, and bot hoster Steam accounts. There was an initial ban wave, and then as bot hosters tried making more accounts, those also got banned. And as of recording this, bans are still happening, now affecting more individual human cheaters alongside bots and their hosters, which is insane to me, because this hasn't happened in over a decade in any serious widespread capacity. It's fucking wild. Now, Shonik broke the story at large first, but he fucked up his video, because he pointed out this dip in TF2's player charts as the manifestation of this ban wave. This isn't true. This dip in players is what we typically see each week during server maintenance. Players get knocked offline, and then gradually come back over time. As I said in my videos covering bots, we see this stair-stepping after Tuesday maintenance because botnets of idle bots get knocked offline and then automatically turn on sometime after maintenance is over. This is why Shonik said there were 16,000 bans, which isn't the case at all. That aside, as is with any anti-cheat measures, we know whatever Valve did isn't 100% effective, as some cheaters and bots obviously still remain. They are, however, far fewer in number. So low, in fact, that casual is actually playable for the first time in years. Amazing what happens when you work on your game, right? People can actually play it. Now look, we have no idea as to what the nature of this new system is, be it AI or some derivative form of systems in Counter-Strike. As we all know, Valve never reveals anything about the nature of their anti-cheat, for obvious reasons. And we have no idea how long this system will be effective, as anti-cheat tends to be reactionary rather than precursory. Okay, this point forward, we're now out of the realm of fact, we're now entering the realm of speculation and my own thoughts, but what's intuitively obvious, at least to me, without evidence or direct confirmation from anyone at Valve, mind you, so take this with a grain of salt, is that Valve has been working on this system for quite some time now. We don't know exactly how long, but a response this pervasive certainly doesn't reflect less than 3 weeks worth of work in reaction to fix TF2, and certainly not that quickly when the work is coming from only 1 or 2 people. It's long since been known that a contractor is pretty much the only person touching TF2 these days, aside from Eric Smith, one of the original developers. So, good on you, man. You did what Valve refused to do for fucking years. The absolute bare minimum. And it's awesome seeing people happy about this. I am as well. But it's also wild to me how quickly people 180'd on Valve after this happened. People are now praising Valve for what amounts to wiping their own ass. Hell, it's not even that. It's a contractor wiping Valve's ass for them. I'm not saying don't celebrate. We should celebrate. But praising Valve for this goes too far. This isn't something we should be praising Valve over. TF2 being playable should just be expected. Not to mention, the timing of all of this is a little too perfect. Valve dropped this bot fix right before the summer update is due to arrive, which leads me to believe that they timed this perfectly to entice people into spending money on keys. Anyways, long story short, bots are mostly gone. For now, and it's more than likely that fixed TF2 didn't provoke this action from Valve. It might have hastened it in recent weeks, but this was, at least to me, very clearly underway long before fixed TF2 was announced. Don't twist my words, this is not me condemning fixed TF2. If anything, I'm glad it happened, despite its flaws. Making Valve look bad by making a stink on social media is absolutely fantastic. At the very least, it makes us feel better because we're venting our frustrations. There has been a net positive from this movement happening. Not to mention, it's long overdue to have painted Valve in anything other than a positive light just because they made some really good games 20 fucking years ago. Valve has long since moved on from being the company that made Half-Life, and the more people that understand that, the better. In TF2's case, why it's taken so long for Valve to do anything is because the game has been in this very unique and unfortunate position. Valve wanted nothing to do with TF2 after Jungle Inferno. They dropped the ball with Meet Your Match, they were fed up, they were done. All they wanted to do was maintain the status quo by throwing loot box into our faces and using the game for profit. But they later hired a contractor willing to do the work to make the game playable, so they allowed him to do it. So that begs the question. Well, that doesn't beg the question, but I want to explore this as a mental exercise. Would fixed TF2 have worked if the contractor hadn't been hired some years ago? If TF2 wasn't in that unique position of apathy from Valve and drive from the contractor, would Valve have done anything for Team Fortress 2 beyond the status quo? Well, here's where the dislike ratio of this video is going to plummet because the answer is no. Valve had no incentive to do otherwise. Despite the state TF2 was in, the game was still profitable, earning them millions of dollars annually. All they had to do was dump a bunch of content they didn't even make into the game 3 times a year, and it printed them millions of dollars. That right there is the obvious indicator that Valve still wants the money from TF2 and will do below the bare minimum to keep that revenue stream flowing. Fixed TF2 came from good intentions, but it wasn't addressing this financial aspect at all. So now, in this hypothetical world I'm talking about, where the contractor didn't exist and all we were dealing with was Valve, from day one, a much, much larger emphasis should have been placed on financially boycotting TF2. Without this, the fixed TF2 movement would have failed. And I've been saying this for months now. The only thing corporations listen to, which Valve is the almighty dollar. You hurt their bottom line, you force their hand. You don't like how the product is being handled, you don't support the product. Simple as that. Everything else, the noise on social media, the petition, the YouTubers, all of this is easily ignored because it ultimately amounts to just that, noise. Noise that can be blown off. We saw this with the very same example that Wheezy used in his own video on how we can save TF2. He references World of Warcraft, where Blizzard was mistreating their game, ignoring consumer outcries, and engaging in anti-consumer practices. Blizzard was all too content on keeping that status quo, because their incentive wasn't changed. People were still paying for WoW subscriptions. But, shocker, company malpractice fueled players to unsubscribe. They deprived Blizzard of their dollars. Blizzard's initial damage control was to stop publishing subscriber counts, which pissed off more people, fueling more people to unsubscribe. There were cries on social media, the petition, the YouTubers, this wonderful snowballing effect that caused for more people to unsubscribe. It eventually got so bad, enough people deprived Blizzard of their dollars that it finally forced their hand 1.5 years later. They gave the players what they wanted. Kind of. The social media firestorm was the tool by which a financial boycott was encouraged and incentivized. The noise alone could have never forced Blizzard's hand. And the exact same can be said for Team Fortress 2. Because Valve has weathered infinitely worse PR storms in the past, and they would have done just the same with fixed TF2. Because it had no teeth. It wasn't hitting them where it hurt. And where it hurts is the profit. It is the single most tangible thing to Valve. This should have been the message from day one, and it should be the message moving forward. If Valve stops doing the bare minimum level of maintenance and bots come back, stop spending money on the game. That's it. A counter-argument that many people make is that, well, Valve can simply mishandle TF2 until Kingdom Come, because the revenue from TF2 is small potatoes compared to Valve's primary revenue streams. They have Steam, their infinite money printer, and the billion-dollar baby that is Counter-Strike. So why would they care about the millions from TF2 when they have
billions?
Frankly, this is nonsense. Valve clearly still wants the money. Otherwise, why would they keep dumping loot boxes into the game 3 times a year and then make those the centerpiece of each update? Bots in our game? Nah, fuck that. We'll let that fester for years. But every box gives an unusual? Well, they fixed that shit in less than 2 days. When the money is at risk, Valve time becomes a thing of the past. Also, a loss is a loss. If the millions in annual revenue from TF2 was cut in half, to a third, to a quarter, that's money no longer available for overhead costs, for running servers, or paying for bonuses or vacations. Oh, well, hey, Doug, where's that $2 million for our electric bill at the server warehouse? Oh, wait, what do you mean it's not there anymore? Where the fuck that money go? Corporations account for every single fucking penny in their budgets. There's only so many reallocations and cuts you can perform. Losing money from the expected budget is the #1 thing that forces a company's hand. Another counter-argument is that, well, if TF2 stops earning Valve money, Valve would just shut down the game. Which is another asinine argument, because if Valve shut down the microeconomy that fathered all microeconomies, imagine the seismic shockwaves of instability that would be sent through their other games markets. What do you mean I don't actually own this $50,000 virtual sticker? What do you mean it's just a bunch of zeros and ones being hosted on some server in a dank Finnish warehouse? The raw market panic that would ensue from TF2 getting shut down would lose Valve even more money than TF2 earns them, I assure you. And the best angle we have is that this neglect isn't just a TF2 problem. It's a Valve problem across all of their games. Hey, Counter-Strike fans, you see us? You see TF2? You see how we're doing? Hey, hello! You're next. And the signs are there. Counter-Strike is now entering the post-2017 era of Team Fortress 2. Valve performed a major transition of the game into a new system, and dropped the ball pretty fucking hard. Instead of addressing the game's biggest problems, namely cheaters, proper functionality, missing content originally in Counter-Strike Go, amongst other smaller missing pieces, Valve instead monetizes the game even further, offering a weekly subscription service for skin rentals. And keychains? Seriously? What the fuck is happening to this game? Next we're gonna get Nicki Minaj and some shitty cat girls dancing around the screen, my god. And now, they appear to be gearing up for periodic workshop content dumps instead of pushing a new operation. You know, meaningful updates? I guess those are a thing of the past now. Gee, where have I seen all of this before? And just like Team Fortress 2, the new toys are going to offer a nice distraction for a while, but eventually the neglect is going to get so bad that dangling a new set of shiny keys in players' faces won't placate them after getting domed by cheaters in every other game. And amidst all of the issues with TF2, and Counter-Strike falling down that same slide of neglect, Valve has the fucking audacity to be working on another game, Deadlock, which is guaranteed to be live service, chock full of microtransactions, and bloated with cheaters. Deadlock already has cheat clients available, and the game hasn't even been released yet. How on earth should anyone trust Valve to maintain a new game when they can't even maintain their currently offered titles? That right there should be shouted from the rooftops as soon as possible. If all of Valve's currently offered titles incur enough instability in their markets, then Valve might actually work on their games more consistently. And yet, for some reason, all of these obvious financial aspects were just omitted from Fix TF2 from the start, only mentioned in 1 or 2 videos as a suggestion rather than the #1 thing to do. And why were they omitted? Well, according to the organizers, because of feasibility issues. To the organizers, the feasibility of a financial boycott was just too low to bother. Yet, in the eyes of these same guys, a petition had a low chance of success. The cries on social media had a low chance of success. Their words, not mine. Go watch their videos again. But those actions alone were worth doing. But a boycott was not? Despite the financial boycott objectively being the clearest and most effective path forward? Not even that, it's just the right thing to do. Despite them being able to influence so many people to sign a petition, over 300,000, they thought they couldn't have influenced at least some of those people to stop spending money on the game and hit Valve where it hurts. It makes no sense. Of course, all of this is hypothetical now, because independent of what fix TF2 was doing, the contractor was already working on a bot fix. At least, that's obvious to me. We don't know if that's actually true. Now, recently, the organizers are coming around to the idea of pushing a boycott and are planning for a wider call for one. You know, better late than never, thank God. But now they're in this awkward position of, oh, shit, Valve did something, but a boycott is still the correct thing to do if the game goes back to being a dumpster fire? So, do we tell people to boycott the summer update? Do we tell them to not spend the money? Or do we tell them to wait and see what happens? Frankly, it's a 9,000 IQ play from Valve to drop this fix right before the update comes, because it just threw a fucking wrench into everything. This fix is gonna last just long enough for them to walk away with another bag before the bots come back? Fuck, yes, I'm pessimistic, and I'm not gonna trust Valve to do shit until I see long-term results. So, now it's a waiting game. How long is this piece gonna last? Seriously, it's not a matter of if, but when bots come back. So what do we do when this happens? Well, frankly, you shouldn't need a YouTuber to tell you this because it's really not that complicated. But when the bots come back, stop buying the fucking keys. God, fuck, it's not that hard. Makes me so mad. Anyways, for now, I'm gonna go back to enjoying this moment. I'm gonna go enjoy all of these schizos seething about their accounts getting banned. Oh, it's so delicious watching these guys just have a fucking meltdown. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. Please don't ban. They're all doing it for attention, but still, it tickles me watching these guys get kicked in the nuts for once. I'm gonna go play the game, so should you. Have fun while you can. Bot hosters and cheaters deserve the rope if they didn't do it to themselves already. Fantastic. Thank you for watching.